We are 5 minutes.
Talk shoes.
Recorded live.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Myth or Logic Radio. And today my guest is Darryl Anka, who channels a future version of himself called Bashar. And Darryl's website is bashar.org, O-R-G. And there is so much information on his website, all sorts of different talks he's given, messages that Bashar has given. You can even get a live audio free tape. So visit there, and I'm just going to give you a quick lowdown here from the About section to save Darryl a little headache. I'm sure he's told this story a million times. But way back in 1973, he, on 2 occasions, saw daylight sightings of UFOs, and he had witnesses with him, and everybody saw them. And they were dark, metallic, triangular crafts about 30 feet on each side. And now we're talking 1973, so this is pretty wild back in 1973. And to make a long story short, 10 years after that, he was introduced to a practicing channel. And after several months of listening to the information that was coming through by the spirit entity, he was really fascinated and amazed by the consistency and quality of the information. And eventually, that entity offered to teach channeling to whoever wished to learn. And so Darryl got all surprised. He thought this was pretty cool, and he didn't even think that this was something that could be taught, but he joined a channeling class, not intending to become a channel, but rather to learn about the process. So midway through the course, he gets this message from an extraterrestrial consciousness that he would later call Bashar. And Bashar was from the UFO he had seen way back in 1973. And he had this memory that came back to him about making an agreement at some point prior to his incarnation in this life to channel Bashar. And so now was the time to fulfill the agreement. So anyway, let me just get Darryl on here, and you can kind of get us up to speed. We talked the other day. You said you've been doing this for 26 years, Darryl. That's correct, Tom. Awesome. Bashar is amazing. He's just the consistency, just like you say, the consistency of the information, and it just resonates at a very deep level, at least with me, and I think a lot of people share that sentiment with me.
Yeah, well, thank you. I mean, I think that what I appreciate about the information the most is Bashar really seems to have a knack for taking metaphysical concepts and really grounding them into very practical tools that can be applied to actually create the kind of changes we want in our lives. So he's good at creating, in a sense, kind of toolkits for people and explaining things in ways that we can wrap our minds around and actually use and get an effect from, rather than just sort of leaving it as a nebulous concept.
Right, rather than so much mystical foo-foo, as my friend likes to call it. It's something that you can take from the ethers and actually utilize in a practical way here in the third dimension.
Right.
Now, is the information that comes through Bashar, is this something that you were studying in your younger years, or is this kind of all new to you as well? I mean, over this 26-year period.
I mean, in the beginning, I knew a little bit about the kind of information that had come through a few channels, but since I started channeling myself, a lot of the information that has come through in the last 26 years has been way beyond anything that I had read. And now, and at this point, I've come to understand is very similar to a lot of things that are being explored in cutting-edge quantum physics and other scientific avenues, but also Bashar's brought through information that's cutting edge in a lot of other disciplines as well. I've had psychologists tell me that some of the information that he's delivered is way beyond anything that they've learned, even in a lot of cutting-edge psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's, again, kind of a very interesting, eclectic mix of information on a lot of different disciplines, a lot of different levels.
Right. Now, why is he doing this? Why, I mean, out of the goodness of his heart, does he have a heart? I mean,
yes, they do. Well, for a number of different reasons. I mean, first of all, they're responding, from their point of view, they're responding to an invitation that we've put out with our consciousness to attract beings of this particular frequency, because we're evolving, we're changing, we're looking within ourselves, and we're looking to the stars simultaneously. And as we start exploring our consciousness, our spirituality, it in their mind, it sort of acts as a beacon that they follow to interact with people of like vibration. To them, it's like finding members of your family, and in helping us, they're expanding their family. They're learning different ways that we have of approaching creation or exploring creation, and they want to share with us the ways they have of doing the same. And to them, by doing that, it expands knowledge and information and spiritual growth for everyone. So we benefit, they benefit, and we kind of can sort of climb up that ladder together as a family.
So it's kind of like this vibrational signal that we kind of send out collectively that, hey, we're asking for help, or we're asking for information, we're asking for the knowledge to move to another level, and Bashar and his kind say, oh, okay, there's an open door.
Right.
Now we have an ear that's ready to hear.
Right. We have permission from our world to interact, in a sense. And to them, this is also the first steps and the first stages for what Bashar has explained will eventually actually evolve into open physical contact between our civilizations. This is sort of how they, in a lot of cases, this is how they begin contact, by communicating in this way or some other way that keeps them sort of in the background, so that we're more focused on the message rather than the messengers. Mm-hmm. And then they get to see how we respond to that information, and whether we want to absorb and adapt that information into our society, which tells them whether or not they would, in a sense, want to continue to interact with, whether it would be appropriate for them to continue to interact with us based on whether we decide if we're ready for such interaction or not.
Right, and that's an interesting point, because a lot of people that I talk to, when it comes to Bashar or Abraham or Seth or something, all of a sudden they're almost like worshiping these entities, and that's not the deal at all. It's the message. And
yeah, I mean, Bashar is very aware of our history with focusing too much on the messenger, and so they want to make sure that we get the point that it's really the information that's important, not who they are, and that if the information helps us make the kind of changes in our lives that we prefer, then that's really why they're communicating with us. And eventually, when they feel that we consider ourselves to be on more equal footing with them and don't worship them, then that's the point when they would feel like we've met them halfway. We've grown up enough that we can interact with them as equals, and not put them on some kind of a pedestal, which they really don't want.
I like that. I like that a lot. Darryl, I've got a slew of questions that people have sent in, and I wonder if we can ask Bashar to answer them.
Well, I can't channel on the phone right now. I'm not set up to do that, but if it's information that Bashar has covered in the past, I can certainly do my best to explain or recall what it is he's already spoken of if it's a subject that he's covered.
Oh, okay. Can I ask you why you can't channel on the phone?
I'm just not set up to do that. I have to have hands free. I don't have. I can't really wear a headset or anything like that when I go into the altered state. So that's something that has to really be done in person.
Okay, so that's something to keep in mind for the next time we do this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me just run some of these questions by you, and hopefully Bashar has answered them somewhere along the way. One being, is Bashar and Abraham and Seth, and I mean, is this all the same kind of energy, or